Hi, I'm Jason Sterling, and this is an RM Cascadian travel vlog. And today, my son and I went to the Pop Century Resort at Disney World. Okay, now if you've seen a couple of my recent vlogs, you know that my son and I went to the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser 2-day live action experience at Disney World. And while we weren't staying there, we stayed at Pop Century, the resort, the value resort, value being relative to Disney, the value resort there at Disney World. It is actually one of my favorite resorts. It is a really, really great setup, very whimsical, a lot of fun. But first we had to get there. We flew down via Southwest Airlines. Everything went great that time. There was no trouble with our flights. We took the Mears transport from the airport to Pop Century. No more Magical Express, as longtime Disney goers know. That was one of the things lost to COVID. But Mears is still running their shuttles. Mears was who operated the Magical Express as well. They're still running their shuttles, and it was really quick. It was really fast. I'm not kidding. It's probably the fastest I've ever gone to Disney World. Literally got my luggage, walked over to the Mears transport area, which is the exact same area as Magical Express was in, met a representative, and she walked me right onto not even really a motor coach this time, more of a van shuttle, like an airport type van shuttle. Walked me over to the shuttle, and we left just right off the bat. It was a super quick ride over to our resort. As I said, I love Pop Century. Pop Century is a very whimsical resort. It is a motel style resort where all of the entrances to the rooms are on an exterior walkway. So you do not have an interior like a hotel, like an interior hallway. It is an exterior hallway. The rooms are relatively small, and we'll look at our room coming up here in a minute. The walkways overlook general sort of courtyard type areas. Usually there's a pool there. In some of the areas, like in the 70s, there is just a large mock-up of a foosball table. They have a splash pad in the 70s area for like smaller kids. The other three areas, though, the 80s, 90s, the 60s, and the 50s, do have large pools. And they are surrounded there at the pools and throughout the resort by larger-than-life icons of the pop century of the late 20th century. So all of these sort of pop culture ideas, a lot of them Disney influence, right? Disney definitely helped push pop culture in the late 20th century. All of those sort of iconic images from that era are 3 or 4 stories tall, towering over you everywhere you walk in the resort. Makes it for a very childlike feeling. It makes you feel like a toddler again when the entire world was giant size and everything seemed just huge and massive. Now, aside from the icons, you have beautiful landscaping like you always do at Disney. Everything's usually in pretty good repair. I can't remember anything at Pop Century that was in poor repair. I didn't see any broken walls, any broken gates, anything like that that you might find at a typical hotel. Typically at Disney resorts, which are premium priced, everything, even their value resorts, everything is, though, usually in really good repair. And this was true at Pop Century. The landscaping looked beautiful. There's never any garbage in it. There's never any garbage in the parking lots, right? Like, they keep it clean. Pop Century borders a pond. I think they call it a lake. I think they call it Hourglass Lake is what they call it. It's actually a pond, but Hourglass Lake, which separates Pop Century from Art of Animation. Also at Hourglass Lake, there's a bridge, and at one time it was called the Generation Gap Bridge because Pop Century was originally going to be a 2-sided resort with the second half of the 20th century on one side and the first half of the 20th century on the other side. The first half was scrapped after 9/11 and eventually became Art of Animation. Now, the point of that is, at the Generation Gap Bridge that connects the two sides, connects the two resorts at this point, is where the Skyliner stops. Pop Century, the only value resort on Disney World property that has an alternative form of transportation outside of the bus system. And it is the incredible, I love it. I love it. It's one of my favorite things at Disney World. In fact, it's probably my favorite second ride at Disney World after the monorail. And both of those are free. Skyliner connects Pop Century and the Art of Animation to Caribbean Beach and the Riviera Resort and Epcot and Disney Studios. And with a short walk, all of the stuff between Epcot and Disney Studios, you know, the boardwalk, the Yacht and Beach Club, the boardwalk retail area, and even the Swan and Dolphin, you know, is not too far of a walk, you know, from Disney Studios. The other stuff's pretty close to Epcot. So with that mode of transportation, you have this fantastic accessibility to all of those other areas and all of the things they have to offer to, you know, as far as restaurants go, retail goes, and then the two theme parks. And it's just a great ride. You get lifted way up above everyone else, couple stories off the ground. You can see all over that area of Disney World. So it's a fantastic, fun time, right? And being at the end of that particular line means that there's always availability because people coming from the one direction are all getting off, right? So all the empty ones are going back towards Caribbean Beach. So you can hop on. You almost never have to wait. In fact, I never have waited. I mean, any more than like, okay, this group in front of me is going to get on that car, so I have to wait for them to board. But otherwise, it's pretty much just a walk-on type of transportation. Now, this may be needless to say, but I'll go ahead and throw it in here because it is part of the resort and part of the resort review. The rest of the transportation at Disney's Pop Century Resort is, of course, buses, right? So you do have the Skyliner. It gets you to a lot of places and really quickly and really easily. The rest of your transportation will be by the Disney bus system. So Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Downtown Disney. And then via Downtown Disney, any other resorts you want to go to would be by bus as far as free transportation goes. You can always order an Uber or a cab at a Disney resort. They'll pick you up, you know, at the front of the resort. And Ubers actually aren't too expensive. I do use those sometimes. Like if I'm going to go eat at, say, California Grill all the way over at the Contemporary, there is no way I'm going to try to get there by bus. So, and I don't want to try to get home afterwards by bus back to my resort, like say Pop Century or wherever. So Uber is usually not that expensive, really quick. They have a ton of Uber drivers, as you can well imagine, in Orlando and around the Disney World complex. They're everywhere all the time. So those are your other, you know, transportation options, or a rental car, or if you brought your own car, you know that already though. That is a big selling point of Pop Century, of course, that it is connected to the Skyliner along with the cost. The cost for Pop Century is going to run you anywhere, I mean, typically around $200 a night. During a standard season, if it's a holidays, I think it goes as high as $300 a night or $350 a night. So if you want to stay there at Christmas time, yeah, it's really, really pricey. Everything is really, really pricey at Christmas time at Disney. But under a standard season, when we went, I think it was running about $200 a night. I did get it on special. Maybe it was a little bit more than $200 a night because they had like a special running. They often have specials running, and it was like 25% off. And I think it came in at around 175 or 179 a night. And believe it or not, that's not bad for Disney. That's actually a pretty good price for Disney in this day and age for a hotel room on their property. And it is convenient to be there, and it does feel very Disney, and it does feel like your vacation is always at Disney. So you went to Disney on vacation. That's where you went for a vacation. You didn't go to Orlando, and while you were in Orlando, you went to Disney World. You go actually to Disney World. So it does give you that sort of feeling, but it's a little pricey. So that's a kind of a drawback of it. But you have the Skyliner helps offset that a little bit. You have a great whimsical theme. It's always in good repair. The food options are a little lacking. There's only a food court. That's what I mean by lacking. There's only a food court with counter service restaurants. Now, they're kind of hit and miss. Some of them are not. I mean, sometimes it's not too bad. The worst thing I ever ate in not my entire life. The worst thing I ever ate at Disney World was at my resort at Pop Century during this trip. I mentioned it during the Galactic Star Cruiser videos. And I'm going to put a picture of it here again. It bears repeating, never order this. This was awful. This was like Walt's favorite hot dog. And I know what killed him now. It's eating that mess. That's kind of a dark joke. I know. He actually died of cancer and too soon. Who knows what we would have gotten if he had lived, to 80 or 90 years of age. We probably would have really gotten Epcot as he intended it, right? But yeah, it was horrible, and their food options are pretty much like that. I don't eat too much at Pop Century, though, so it really doesn't matter. I typically eat breakfast in my room, which is the first thing I did when I got to the resort. I called Amazon Food Delivery, their kind of little grocery service. I ordered snacks, breakfast items, drinks, all the stuff that I'm going to want in my room. Had those delivered, the first couple of hours that I'm there. There's a small refrigerator in the room, bigger than on the Galactic Star Cruiser, big enough to hold quite a few things. I put, a quart of milk in there and some water and some Pepsi, stuff like that, right? So I typically eat breakfast in the room while we're getting ready, my son and I. And lunch and dinner, I'm almost always at one of the parks. So I don't really eat dinner at the resort either. And if you want a good meal, I'm going to say this real quick. If you do want a good meal and you're at Pop Century and you want to have like a table service meal, get on the Skyliner, go over to Caribbean Beach, use their table service restaurant. It was really good. There's a review of that coming in another video, but it was really, really good. Or go to the Riviera, use their restaurants, go over to Yacht and Beach Club, go over to the Boardwalk, go over to Swan and Dolphin, use their restaurants, right? If you've got a park hopper pass, go to Epcot. They've got a million restaurants, use those. So there are definitely, the fact that it's just a food court and it's not very good doesn't really impact my decision about staying there much because I just typically don't use it. I have had decent food there. Now, my son and I, this day, our first day here, put some pictures up. These were just sandwiches. I had like a pulled pork sandwich with barbecue sauce and coleslaw on it, and it really was quite good. It was. It had fries. You can't mess up fries typically. They were fries. They were frozen fries that had been flash fried, and they were really quite good. And the desserts are always excellent at Disney. This is a 50th anniversary dessert. One of the reasons why we chose to go to Disney when we did, it was the 50th anniversary, right? We wanted to check out some of the 50th anniversary stuff. That was a 50th anniversary dessert, kind of a mousse dessert. They do a lot of those because they can come in really cool shapes like that with glitter on it. Looks very celebratory. So I had that, and that food was quite good. I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. It's simple. It's simple because it's just a sandwich and fries, right? And a dessert. But it was good. There was nothing wrong with it, and there's nothing really to complain with there, except it's just pretty simple and not very sophisticated. Now, let's talk about the room. Before I get started here, I'm going to throw in a copy. This is me walking through the room and kind of touring it, and you can see it from how you can see my perspective when I first walked in. How did I feel about when I first walked into this room? What did I think about it? Okay, this is my son and I's room here at Pop Century. We are in we're in the 50s, building number 1 in the 1950s. The rooms here, this is a value resort. It is a value resort here at Disney. Value being relative to Disney, but for Disney it is a value resort. It's a really great, efficient room. I'm going to call it an efficient room. And it really is an efficient room. It is. It's the smallest accommodations here at Disney World at about 250 square feet. I'll show you real quick. We've got a dining table and a Murphy bed there. That's what I mean by efficient, even though it's 250 square feet. During the day, it does feel pretty spacious. I'll give a quick kind of tour around here. You've got a lot of space to walk as you come in through the door and come into the room, mostly because that Murphy bed is folded up into the wall, and it gives you a great place if you want to eat a quick dinner at night or breakfast. Now, breakfast is even more something we do in our room. We usually want to get to the park super early. We want to be there a rope drop. I don't want to waste time in the food court grabbing breakfast. So we usually have something here that I'll buy in advance or have delivered. This time I did delivery, Amazon Fresh, super easy, kind of delivered to the resort. There's a refrigerator here. There's not a microwave, so you're going to need stuff like Pop-Tarts, donuts, stuff like that. Fruit, dried fruit. Great place to eat it there on the table. Also dinner, like I said, bring a pizza or the stuff from the food court. You can eat here in the room. This is the bed my son is in, resting.
we are both exhausted. We did just get off the Halcyon Star Cruiser here at Disney World, and we're
disappointing. I'm sad that it didn't last longer.
Yes, the only disappointing part was that it did not last longer. It was a great time. Now in here, we have the bathroom. I don't have the lights on yet. Let's turn the lights on. Again, a great sort of typical Disney bathroom where they put the sink in a separate room from the tub and the toilet there, the toilet. Now, it was interesting on the Halcyon, they actually had the toilet in a separate room, which makes even more sense if there's a space to have a toilet separate from the shower, separate from the sink. But it is a great setup, and there's, again, plenty of room here, kind of a little place to hang some clothes. Great dresser for putting things away. I rarely put stuff away. I usually just live out of my suitcase. When I'm at, I'd say Disney World on vacation, I don't unpack stuff. And what I do put in there, put dirty clothes in there. So when I get done wearing it, I throw it in there. And then at the end of the trip, I just grab everything in a big hand load and throw into my luggage to pack back up. That's it for the room. I also put, of course, like always, a few still shots so that you can kind of look at it in more detail, more in depth. Right, by the way, down there is the fridge, as you can see. Kind of small. It will hold a quart of milk on its side. Also holds several cans of Pepsi, several bottles of water, and maybe some pieces of fruit or something like that. Got a space up top for a pantry. I've got some pictures from our other room, because this is our second room here at Pop. We stayed before and after the Halcyon. That shows that we're having outfitted with a whole bunch of stuff, right? Because that does hold actually quite a bit. Probably more than it looks like even. A lot. And it's got a coffee maker. And it's got several packets of coffee all at the same time. So if you're like me, best news ever. That's it. Just take a look at some of these still shots.
Okay, and that was it. As I said, that was it on the video. That's the room. You can see the still shots here. I usually take still shots because when I'm looking at like review videos, the camera jerking around and looking at these different parts of the room, what I really want is just a static shot of something so I can actually look at it and kind of say, okay, how big is that fridge? Okay, how big is that dresser or whatever like that. So you'll see the static shots here. The room is really great. It is efficient. It's always clean, except, here's the bad part I did not mention in that walkthrough. Disney at that time, now they have adjusted that. I think at this point on value resorts, they'll clean every other day. And on deluxe resorts, they will clean every day, I think. But on value and moderate, I think it's every other day. Now, the bad thing was when I went, it was still like maybe every fourth day. So my room never actually got cleaned while I was there because I was there for like 3 days and then 3 days. And the pictures that you're going to see here are, I think I can probably have them up by about now, are really, it's really bad. I mean, it's really disappointing. It's really kind of depressing to come back from the parks at the end of the day, at the end of the night. Usually at the parks all day long and into the evening if you're me, and you come back and, you know, the bed's trashed and the room's trashed and the garbage is overflowing and your towels haven't been carried out in several days. Now, I typically do reuse my towel both at home and on vacation, so that's not as bad, but, you know, my son doesn't. And so, you know, I've got this pile of towels that are half wet, drying out on the floor. And I'm almost out of coffee, right? Even though there were several packets, it's because they weren't coming by every day. So I'm almost out of coffee. Yeah, sure. You can go down to the desk and ask for some more. Maybe you can call the desk and ask for some more. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it is really just depressing to come back to that. And the way I look at it is if I wanted to take care of all that myself, part of being on vacation is the leisure aspect of it, right? The idea that I don't have to make my bed every day. I don't have to take out my own garbage. I don't, you know, it's part of the leisure aspect of a vacation. If I wanted to do all that myself, I would just stay in an Airbnb because probably for the price I paid for Pop Century, I could get a house, you know, with a pool in Orlando, right? I could get an Airbnb, but I don't want to clean up after myself and I don't want to clean up when I leave. You know, I want it to be that aspect of it to be taken care of. So that was really disappointing. Now it'll be better now. It'll be better now, a little bit. Although I'll tell you, these pictures I'm showing, there's just 2 of us in this room. It holds 4 typically. Might even be able to fit 5 in there if they brought in a rollaway or something. But it holds 4 typically, and there's just 2 of us, and the pictures I'm showing are after 2 days. Okay, so it gets messy really fast. And that's the only bad part about that room. And that was Disney as a whole. That was not Pop Century. That was Disney resorts as a whole during that period, and still to some extent with moderate and value resorts right now. Every other day is better than nothing. But let's be realistic here. You're paying premium prices. You should get a premium experience. And that is how I look at it. I've stayed at a lot of hotels since COVID, since reopened in this country after, the big initial push of COVID. I have not stayed in a hotel yet that they had any trouble changing that room every day, except at Disney. I haven't had trouble on the cruise ship. I didn't have trouble in Denver. I didn't have trouble in Chicago. I didn't have trouble in San Francisco. I didn't have trouble in Fort Worth or Houston, Galveston. I have trouble at Disney though. So, I'm tired of the COVID excuse. We got to get past that, but they are trying to get past it, I think, and that has changed to some extent. So overall, I would say at Pop Century again. I'm sure the next time I go to Disney, I'll either stay at Caribbean Beach or Pop Century. They're both right there on the Skyliner line. And, the Skyliner goes to the 2 parks I like best, which is Epcot and Disney Studios. Which my next video will be about Disney Studios. My son and I went to Disney Studios on day 2 of our trip to Disney World. We'll talk about Disney Studios and what we ate and what there is to eat and the rides and how we got there and what it was like. It was actually really great. Spoiler alert, it was really great. But we'll talk about Disney Studios on the next video. In the meantime, please hit like, subscribe, and notify. If you have any questions or comments about Pop Century or about your visit to Disney World, whether you've just been there 2 years ago, going there soon, please feel free to put them in comments, especially if you have a question. I do check comments regularly on YouTube. I'm always happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. And so, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And in the meantime, thanks for watching.